The black box sits in the middle of the room, fairly large room, higher ceiling than a unit. There's white chalk equations written on the outside of the box. There's a door that is hinged on the left, no, it's hinged on the right, opens outwards. You go in, this wall here is solid, you don't see past here. So you enter in and immediately the room is curving. This projection screen at this stage of the game would have chalk drawings reminiscent of Rudolf Steiner's chalkboard drawings about the cosmos and physical equations, etc. And you'd be drawn to the first unit, Unit A, bookshelf Unit A. We will have scientific glassware up above, and on this shellfish kind of thing here we will have an hourglass with sand pouring. We will have a microscope here, a vintage microscope. When you look through it, a pico projector will be rigged up to show something fantastical. And down below there'll be a drawer that one pulls out, and magnetic filings. There'll be little knobs devised so you can pull them, but not necessarily see how the magnetic filings are being tumbled about and creating. So essentially this is a unit that would have the devices and the equipment that humans have created to sort of try to investigate, the intricacies of the universe and the way the world works. And as you're working here, one of these interfaces with objects will activate the screens on either side, hopefully, so that the Rudolf Steiner chalkboard starts to animate slightly. As the participant kind of finishes the things they're doing on this first unit, the Edison light bulbs that are dotted along the corridor here, up against the ceiling there, the one above the next cabinet might come on or brighten while the other is dim. And at the same time, as the participant starts moving past this next projection screen, the chalk drawings will basically dissolve or turn into swarms of starlings, large flocks of starlings moving like clouds, moving and shape-shifting. When you get to this unit, in this central area, this kind of counter height area, there will be a green shelf that seems to be illuminated, encouraging the participant to put their hands into the cavity. And as they do so, the shelf above will have a pan of sand in it, and the chortletal plate will act through a vibration to start moving the sand around. So it will look like the person's hands effectively in that slot are actually activating the sand and moving in the plate. Possibly within that cavity we might have casts of handprints for people to put their hands on, but that seems to be going away. In the shelves above we will have sort of like a Christian Boltanski arrangement of what do you call it? X-rays, hand X-rays. So you see the bones of X-rays. This being a new thing back around 1896. And possibly there'll be a live feed camera on the underside of the shelf where the sand is, pointing down to the hand below. So in effect the hands that are in the green slot will then be projected through a live feed onto the projection screens on either side. So we have oversized versions of one's own hand that we can play with reverse on, so they kind of take the semblance of some kind of either radioactive hand or a semblance of an X-ray, even though you won't see through to the bones. There might be a drawer on this one too, though that seems to have gone away as well. The main event here is in fact the green slot and the hands and the shape shifting of the sand above. So, well, going back to when we have the starlings swarming around as we're heading up to this unit, the starlings will swarm around and circle the entire space, so that were you to look back or forward, you would also see that activity. And the sound of the starlings might actually activate one's movement towards this second shelf unit B. So as one moves from Unit B towards around the circle to the next shelf unit, the screens will engage and shift into a sort of macro-micro scenario, be it microscopic views of shifting sand or atomic particles, molecules, something to that effect. When one gets to the third and final kind of haptic interface shelf unit. There'll be a large tome or book on a stand, possibly behind glass, and the book might actually be blank, as if it's actually full of information in the way it's so thick, but in fact the information will come to you through a spoken voice in a cone of sound coming through a very direct point speaker above. And in fact, as someone's walking down the hall, they'll be taken by the fact that they are actually in this cone of very specific sound at a very specific point. And in the shelf above the book, I would like to see ammonites, fossils, the Tibetan mani plates, things like that. So something to suggest markings of over time that transverse cultures and kind of epochs and things like that. So that's where we're going with that one. As that's happening, we've talked about perhaps on the next projection screen or on either side, images from a cloud chamber, where it's kind of atomic particles, I think, or electrons, or the clouds within this little the cloud chamber are kind of being tracked and made visible, the invisible and made visible. So that would be on that screen. But that would dim slightly so that your focus goes into the small room here, where there'll be a small light on the table, which will be on already or go on or brighten as you go in. And most people seem to be inclined to go towards the chair naturally, so we hope that is the case. Oh, going back, as you're going in here, the ceiling is going to be a partially domed ceiling with a cupola hole in the center. So it'll not be flat as this piece of foam core indicates. It'll raise up as in a circular dome with maybe a 3 or 4 foot diameter circle in the center through which we'll see moving clouds, moving stars, something to that effect. So as you enter this room, the walls will be, sort of medium value, earth kind of color perhaps, wood table, wood chair, and this kind of skyscape kind of seen through the top, through the dome at the top, and a small little light, gooseneck light on the table. So as I sit down, there'll be I forget the name of it, but it's a certain kind of speaker, or not speaker, but a sound device that sitting down activates it, and then the participant will feel/hear sound through their bones actually, as opposed to through their ears. It actually vibrates right through their bones at a very high frequency. And possibly the table in front of them, I'm hoping it'll be an older table, possibly with markings and scratches and engravings and stuff in it. That might also activate something, some sound device, through their bones, through their hands. Meanwhile, in front of them, the cloud chamber kind of abstractions slowed down will be fading to a deep blue, and through that possibly come up will be an out-of-focus version of the participant from a live feed camera with a delayed feed taken from when they were at some point in the previous circle. So it'll be an image of themselves, possibly an image layered with other people, participants, but just a sense of presence of the human form going through space. But it'll be hopefully fuzzy and distinct, and will also fade to stardust and disintegrate. And so the screen at that point will just go to a deep blue. The participant will be left with sound coming through their bones, and just a contemplative, reflective environment, which we hope they will enjoy to sit in for a few minutes before somehow being prompted to leave. We haven't completely resolved that, whether the lights in the space here go down and the light near the door goes up. That is something we still have to fine-tune. But as they get up, the little gooseneck lamp that's on the table will seemingly magically shift, move in some perceptible way, so that they question whether that really happened, whether it didn't happen, whether they did it, or whether it was magic. And then the participant leaves. Just after they've entered this space to begin with, the the guide, the attendant, will have moved this panel, which will just look like a wall, off to the other side and allowing them to exit the door, and their experience is over. We expect it'll take about maybe a 10-minute, 15-minute engagement, but in case we don't want anyone to feel rushed. And that's it.